Hello everyone, this is Nick, and today we are going to be making lemon shortbread cookies. Now this is actually incredibly easy to make. It's one of the simplest bakes you could potentially ever do in your life. All you're going to need to make these cookies is flour, sugar, butter, and a lemon in the proportions of 3 parts flour, 2 parts butter, and 1 part sugar. By weight, not by volume. So this here we have 300 grams of flour, 200 grams of butter, 100 grams of sugar. This is all-purpose flour. It does not have any rising or leavening agents. It is just regular all-purpose white flour. And to kick it off for a little bit of taste, a tiny little lemon. You can use a bigger one. This is the only one I have right now. Now we're going to get my big old bowl here, get all the butter in there. And I'm just going to take that and cut it into little cubes. And I'm just going to go ahead and add my flour to that. Hopefully it all fits in this tiny little sieve. Kind of losing control of this. More or less. And just start kind of coating the butter in the flour. Now what you want to start trying to do, or not trying to do, you're going to do it, is taking each individual little cube of butter and just start smushing it into the flour, kind of merging it. You're going to see what the end product of this looks like. It's just going to end up being a very sandy, grainy, yellow sand texture. Now I am using 100 grams of flour, 200 grams of butter, 300 grams of flour, 200 grams of butter, and 100 grams of sugar, because that is more or less what allows me to fit my one oven pan tray thing. You can use more. Just keep in mind that it's always going to be in the proportions of 3-2-1, 3 flour to 2 butter to 1 sugar. So however much sugar you have, you're always going to want an extra, or you're going to want double the amount of butter and triple the amount of flour. However much flour you have, you're going to need 66% of the amount of butter, 33% of the amount of sugar. However much butter you have, you're going to need double the flour. 50% more of the flour and only half the sugar. And these are proportions for just basic shortbread cookies as well. The lemon is added. It's something I started doing just a while ago, and it turned out pretty yummy. The texture is going to change a little bit before you bake it, but it's the same shit and it tastes delicious. It's going to blow your fucking mind. Just keep smushing that butter into the flour. Now arguably, if you've got one of those kitchen mixers, I don't know what they're called. You could use one of those to do this, but it's a lot more fun. You don't get to get your hands dirty. I don't know if they would be as good at doing this. Probably better, but screw that. I don't have one, so, if you have one, you figure it out and Google it. But what you definitely do not want early on is for it to become sort of a packed mess, and I feel like maybe a kitchen mixer would do that. You want it still crumbly and sandy, so you can kind of get it, what's that word? Homogeneous? Is that the word? I have no idea. Now you see that it's starting to become sort of like a sandy texture. It's starting to even out. The flour's gone all sandy yellow from the butter. Just keep doing this for a little while. Mixing it. Getting your fingers dirty. Yeah, the joys of life. Alright, that's looking pretty good. This is right around the time that I'm going to put the sugar in. You're going to want it kind of all... you don't want any massive lumps of butter. I've got a couple. They're not massive. They might just be packed a little bit, but here's a tiny little piece right there. But more or less, it's looking pretty equal. It just looks like a bunch of sort of thick, grainy sand. Yeah, that's nice. So, in with the sugar. Just gonna get that nice and mixed in. But remember, we're not just making normal shortbread, we're making lemon shortbread. So I'm going to need my tiny little lemon. So here we go. Our tiny little lemon, who was not necessarily enjoying their life just sitting in my fridge the whole time, but you know, now they finally have a chance to come out into the world, be a part of a society. You know, oh hey, ha, I'm free. Yeah, you're fucking free. Give me that juice. Give me that fucking zest. Oh yeah. So I'm going to use every bit of this lemon. If it were a slightly bigger lemon, I'd probably use about the juice of half of it, but since it's pretty small, I'm going to use all the lemon juice that it provides to me, and all of the zest as well. Even on a medium-sized lemon, you probably want to use a zest. If you have one of those like massive lemons, probably not all the zest, you might go overboard. Depends how lemony you want your shortbread. Arguably, thinking back on what I just did, it probably would have been wiser for me to zest it while it was whole, but you know, sometimes we fuck up in life and you just have to deal with the consequences. Alright, that's just about the zest of the whole lemon. It's not bad. Decent little amount. You probably want a little bit more than that. I don't know. It's kind of a small lemon and I messed it up by cutting it in half, so it was a little bit harder to get around the edges of the half lemon. But, you know, that's a decent amount. Oh yeah, it's going to give really nice fragrance, a little bit of oiliness to it. Oh, that's just delectable. Delectable? Delightful? Delectable. Now we're going to take my super fashionable lemon squeezer. And we're left with lemon juice. Now that might be a little much. I'm probably going to put it all in anyway. Let's see how much that is. Alright, let's see. Is it a lot? Alright, this is what? This is 80 mils. 80 mils, a third of a cup. Alright, yeah, I'd say that probably fits into the 60 for sure. 60 mils, quarter cup. Yeah, that's probably about 50 mils of lemon juice. A little less than a quarter cup of lemon juice. That's all going into the mixture very soon. So, coming back to our nice sandy shortbread mixture of sandy flour, sugar, and butter. We're going to put all that lemon zest in there. Now, if you've ever worked with shortbread, you know what kind of texture you're going to have to deal with, you know, once you start molding it into little cookie shapes, and it's a pretty agreeable texture to work with. You know, it doesn't stick to surfaces, very manageable, doesn't stick to your hands much. With all of this, that's going to be a very different story. It's going to be pretty sticky and pretty uncomfortable to work with. But just stick it out, don't worry about it, it's going to be fun and tasty as fuck. And now you see that it's not really a grainy, sandy texture anymore. Why? Because it's fucking wet. So now it's just a massive gloop of, I don't know, oatmeal. But that's fine, that's what we want. What we're gonna need to do now is just pack it down anyway. Now what this needs to do is rest in a fridge for a while. Definitely, I'd say minimum 20 minutes, 20 to 40 minutes, probably about 30-ish, 30 to 40 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes. Because when we actually work with it and mold it into little cookie shapes, cute little cookie shapes, we're gonna need it to be kind of stiff. And it doesn't matter if it breaks apart a little bit, it's going to make absolutely no difference to your shortbread gloop. I don't want to say dough, because you don't really, you know, you're not really kneading it, you don't need to knead it, you don't need to work it at all. I don't even think you can overwork it if you tried, but you just don't need to, you just pack it all together, it gets nice and compressed like this. Again, it doesn't have any rising agents, it doesn't have any leavening agents, it's not going to rise. I highly doubt there's any significant amount of airborne yeast bacteria in my kitchen. If there is, it'll take years for this to even budge. Probably, I don't know. I don't know the science behind that. You can just leave that in the fridge for about 30 to 40 minutes. Should be totally fine. Will be totally fine. And we will see you back at that moment in time. So that was in the fridge for about 35-ish minutes. Nice and stiff. Still has a little bit of play though, which is exactly what we want. If it breaks apart, that's totally fine when you're taking it off the plate. It really does not matter. You're going to be doing this step several times where you're just kind of trying to get it into like one little shape-ish type of thing. There we go. It's still a little bit soft in the middle. That's fine. But the idea is to try and get these into probably about centimeter tall cookies into a buttered oven pan. If you want to use like parchment paper, silicone mat, whatever, go for it. Your choice. I don't care. I've always just been doing it like this. And I've got my little round cookie cutter. It's a beautiful plastic piece of
wonderful product.
And we're going to go ahead and move this off to the side a little bit and start getting it nice and flat and start cutting out cookie shapes. You could use a rolling pin if you want to. I'm just going to smash it down with my hands because of how wet it is, the moisture in this, because of the lemon. Sometimes when I roll it out while I do lemon shortbread, it sticks to the rolling pin, and I don't want to put extra flour on the rolling pin. So I'm just going to smash it down with my hand. Let's actually see. It doesn't actually feel that humid. Let's check. Oh, it's actually not really it's looking like it wants to give a little bit here in the center. Looks like it wants to stick to that rolling pin, but it's doing a pretty good job. All right, that's looking to be pretty even. I think there's a tiny little indentation here. I might have gone too far with the rolling pin. Gonna mush that up a little bit. It seems to have gone below about a centimeter. It might be a little bit thinner than a centimeter. That's totally fine. We'll just go ahead and start putting it on our tray. That right there, that crack right there, I'm not liking that, so I'm going to leave that. And we're going to start taking all of this and putting it off to one side. The lovely thing about shortbread, pastry, dough thing, whatever, is that, you know, it pulls apart really easily. This is actually not as hydrated as other lemon shortbreads I've done. I apparently, you know, it was a small lemon, so sometimes I have done it with a lot more liquid, and they tend to be like very, very mushy, and that's totally fine. It's totally fine if that happens. They're still going to come out tasting deliciously. They probably won't look very well once you put them in the pan, but, you know, that's not important. You're not serving the Queen of England. You're eating these for yourself, and if someone else that you're serving them to doesn't like them, they can go ahead and fuck right off. And now you're left over with all of this. What are you going to do with this? Are you going to waste it? Hell no, you're going to make some more fucking cookies. And we've got little Rupert here. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is take a fork, just poke a little hole. This is all aesthetic. We are going to be adding just a tiny little bit more sugar, sprinkle over the top. You'll see that you know, a lot of these are uneven because of the fact that I was picking them up with that spatula thing because of the hydration of the lemon shortbread cookies, or the liquid of the lemon juice. You know, when you pick them up with something like that, or with the poor care that I picked them up with, you're going to deform them a little bit. Who cares though, right? Do you? I don't. So, there we go. Just going to put a couple of little holes for some, I highly doubt this adds any texture, but aesthetics. We're going to give these lemon shortbread cookies some aesthetically pleasing holes on the top. Yes, lovely, lovely. Even Rupert gets some holes. And little sprinkles of sugar. Just for a little bit added sweetness, a little bit added crunch once it's nice and baked. Just a little sprinkle of sugar on top. Don't go overboard. I mean, do whatever the fuck you want, right? It's your cookie. If you want to put a jalapeno on top, you can do it. All right. Now these are going into the oven. Shit, I don't know. My oven is such a disaster. What's it on right now? I do have a temperature thing. I never use it. It's on 350 right now. It's probably going to keep going up. I'll put them in at 350 right now. They're going to go in for about 15 to 17 minutes-ish. So we'll see when I take them out. We'll see if they're good, if they need a bit more time, and I'll see what the temperature in the oven is at when I take them out, so we can kind of take an average if cooking or baking even works that way. I don't know. It's incredibly easy to make these cookies. You really can't fuck them up. You'll start to smell the goodness. Let's go for 15 and see what it's like when they come out. Alright, well that went off. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a 0, but screw it. Let's check on these cookies. Alright, that ended at about... Alright, 380, 390. I actually have to apologize. I've been using like grams, milliliters, etc. And then I go and say some stupid unit of measurement like fucking Fahrenheit. Sadly, the only measurement thingy I have, the only measurement gauge... Thermometer. Wow, the only the oven thermometer I have is only in Fahrenheit. I have not been able to pick up one that measures in Celsius. My apologies. Anyway, these cookies look decent. Let's check. Is it just me, or anytime I do anything in the kitchen, this happens? All right, let's see. Now, again, my oven is an absolute disastrous piece of machinery. It's actually not machinery, it's just a compartment with gas flowing into it. It is a disastrous piece of compartment with gas flowing into it. It cooks super unevenly, so let's go ahead and see. Let's see, this cookie right here is looking pretty good. That's pretty nice. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. They're clearly going to be very soft and very moist because of the moisture content from the lemon juice and because of the fact that they literally just came out of the oven. So you have to let them sit for a while to kind of dry up. But that one's like a nice, decent golden brown. Let's check this one over here. Yeah, that one's not bad. That's not bad either. All right, so maybe it cooked relatively evenly all the way around. Yeah, I think it cooked a little bit more on this side than it did on this side, but that's a pretty damn good bake. Right, I'm going to put these on a plate, let them cool down. And little Rupert as well. Look at little Rupert right there. What a champion. Right, I'm going to let those cool down for a little bit. I will be right back. All right, these have been resting for the better part of a day. I've been busy. Let's see what this is all about. All right. Well, that's pretty decent. Probably could have used the extra minute or two. Yeah, I said 17 minutes. Should have stuck to my guns. Should have stuck to 17 minutes, but that's looking pretty damn good. I've been neglecting the actual position of the camera on my phone. Oh, that's fucking delicious. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and see if it looks any better if we actually... Wow, see, right there. Could use... Yeah, I should have done 17 minutes. So they're ever so slightly underbaked. Should have done 17 instead of 15, but they're still absolutely delicious, completely edible. Foodgasmic. Unbelievable. So yummy. This shit's gonna blow your mind. Make these fucking cookies. You won't regret it. So good. 17 minutes. Anyway, I'm gonna take off, have some coffee with some cookies. Have a good one, everyone.
What is this? What is this? What is this? Not you want some of this? Not oh yeah. Oh, that gentle touch.